What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a cool video that will hopefully help you determine what type of boxing glove best suits your punching style. And this goes for boxing, mixed martial arts, any type of kickboxing, any sport that involves punching stuff, basically. Because when you purchase your first pair of boxing gloves or your next pair of boxing gloves, that's hopefully going to be the style that you want to buy for the rest of your life. It goes off your body type, and it also goes off especially how you want to perform within competition, okay? Now, I categorize gloves into 4 different categories. I say there's puncher / Mexican style gloves, there are defensive gloves, pillow gloves, and then hybrids, which could be any of the 3 put together. And the reason why I keep it short is because it's really hard to find variables of boxing gloves nowadays. At the end of the day, a lot of them feel the same from a lot of others. We'll start out with puncher's gloves, okay? The most common one most people will get is a puncher's glove because of most people being very offensively minded. I know when I competed in boxing, I haven't competed in boxing in about 2 years, more focused on MMA now, but I still train a lot in puncher's gloves. The reason why is because I throw a lot of punches. Puncher's gloves don't mean that you brawl and try and land one shot to get it over with, because if you use that with a puncher's glove, you're more than likely going to break your hand because of the materials it's in. The reason why they're called puncher's gloves is because you're throwing multiple punches, and most of them have that big recoil effect. You feel your punches going through. Biggest version of a Mexican style or puncher's glove, and by the way, the reason why they're called Mexican style is because most Mexican fighters are very large volume punchers that like to throw multiple shots per round. Anywhere from 50 through 100 punches a round, they go for it, right? When we talk about the original Mexican glove, you have to talk about Cleto or Cleto Reyes. I pronounce it Cleto, but if I'm wrong, someone correct me. The materials of these gloves make it a puncher's glove, and here's why. When you talk about what's inside of it, you have something that comes from a rubber tree, natural latex, okay? And rubber is a very bouncy material. You take a rubber ball, bounce it, it comes right back up. If I took this glove and bounced it a little bit, well, obviously it catches in my hand, but if I do that, it bounces right off a little bit, okay? And that's exactly what you're gonna do when you hit something. That latex is gonna bend a little bit, your knuckles are gonna press against it, and then recoil your arm right back. All right, so if I put my hand on the inside, and I'm not even over exaggerating this here, I put my hand flat like this and I punch, that's that light little recoil here. It's not my hand pushing it back, it's that glove comes slightly off. Every single time the same space, because that's what you get with the natural latex. The other thing about natural latex is that unlike foams that need to breathe a little bit to get their shape back, this retains its shape immediately. Without a second thought, it just snaps right back. If I fold this here and you see it's nice and sandwiched, it's completely dented in, comes right back immediately. Right here, comes right back. I mold the thumb this way, comes right back. I bend it this way, it comes right back. Latex is one of the most responsive materials on this planet, because the moment you touch it, it reacts like that and it comes right back. The other thing about puncher's gloves is you notice they're a flat surface. Now the reason why is because you punch through the latex, it then recoils against the punching surface. Your knuckles are now basically touching that surface, and then it recoils right back afterward. The thing that might be a drawback for people is that if you have brittle hands, it might not be good for you because your knuckles are piercing through that latex like a hot knife through butter. Basically, if you're hitting really, really hard and it's good and you like that recoil, make sure you have a lot of padding on your knuckles to do so, because really what you're looking for is that latex feel, okay? When you punch something, you just want it to bounce right off. That's really all you want when it comes to that, okay? It doesn't mean that, oh, I need to feel like my knuckles are going through the glove to get the impact. If you put 3 inches of padding on your knuckles, you're still gonna get the same exact impact because that latex is what's recoiling your arm back. So if you have brittle hands, it might not be good for you. And to reiterate what I said earlier, it's not for people that want to land that one big massive shot because of how thin, not necessarily thin the padding is, but what the padding's made out of. It's latex. It's going to pierce right through every single time. And there's another brand, Everlast, that makes a similar glove, which is also a Mexican style glove, is their MX version. And it's the same exact thing. I take this, I fold it, it goes right in, okay? The reason why it does that is because of that latex. So once again, you see a lot of people like Deontay Wilder used an MX glove at the beginning part of his career, and I believe he had 3 hand surgeries to fix it. And now he uses Power Lock, which we'll get to later. You know, there's a bunch of brands out there that use that natural latex. And, you know, another example is, say, Promex by Title Boxing. You know, if you do this, fold it in, same exact thing. It recoils right back. You know, that's exactly what you're going to do when you get a latex glove. So if you don't have the strongest hands, you might want to invest in something called a pillow style of glove. It's very soft on your hand, it's very soft on your sparring partners, and it completely cradles your knuckles by this multi-layered foam technique, okay? They put about 3 to 5 layers of foam over your knuckles, which is what's gonna protect you. It's so soft that it's also gonna protect your sparring partners. It's also so soft that it's gonna not make you feel much when you hit things, okay? You don't get much of a recoil or feedback, okay? Now, you would think, oh, that means there's way more padding. It's not true. It's thin of high, dense padding. The denser something is, the harder it is to pierce through it. So that's exactly what you wanna do. The more dense the padding is, the more your knuckles won't be able to go through. And the biggest culprit of a pillow glove is winning. Winning is good. I always tell people for power punching sometimes, simply because you can hit as hard as you want in a winning glove or in another pillow style glove, and you're not going to feel anything at all. You know, it's not going to hurt your knuckles. I've never met someone that has used winning that has had hand problems, really, you know, unless they use winning in their fights or whatnot. You know, when I punch, completely dead right there, and it's all completely cushioned. I can feel my knuckle if I press as hard as humanly possible, right? But it doesn't feel like I'm like getting damaged. It's only because I'm pressing so hard. But if I have hand wraps and stuff in this, because it's so soft, it's like I'm punching a pillow. That's why people call them pillow puncher gloves, okay? Now, these are good for hand protection, obviously, because the knuckles are good. But once again, only drawback about these is that they're made of foams, which do break down a little bit faster. They will bend a little bit more. They don't snap right back like latex would. But you are really helping your sparring partners because of how soft the glove is. You're also helping your hands, and you're helping mitts and pads, and it also does take some bit of a force away from your punches. Now, I know that might sound ridiculous, but even if you put Triple G in these, it's going to break something for sure, but it does take a little bit of pop off that punch because it does kind of kill your power. The moment you make contact, your knuckles aren't going anywhere. It's just sitting right there. They don't move whatsoever. It doesn't pierce through it. It cradles your knuckles. Your knuckles stay right in that same exact spot. So really the only drawback is maybe you won't feel much impact when you hit things, and you won't get much of a good impact anyway that you might look for in a puncher's glove. Now, another brand that makes really good pillows that are cheaper is Hayabusa. You know, you talk about Hayabusa, they're just as good at gloves, I think. It's just they're a little bit smaller, and it's the same exact type of leathers. It's the same exact layered foam style. And you know, their Velcro gloves, their T3 model, do the same exact thing. If I take the T3 Captain America gloves here, 5 layers of high density multi-layered foams. That's exactly what you're getting here. It's a pillow glove. It's going to protect my hand above all, and it will also protect my partners. Then there's the defensive style gloves. Now, they're fall in the middle of a pillow and a puncher simply because the materials might vary in a defensive glove, but at the end of the day, they're big, they're bulky, they're rounded, and there's so much layered padding in between that your knuckles won't go anywhere at all. They'll punch through and you might have a good puncher's feel, but at the end of the day, your knuckles are cradled and supported. Biggest one is Grant. Most defensive boxers use Grant, and some punchers use Grant. Triple G is a big puncher. He uses Grant. The reason why? The space between my knuckles and the contact point is huge. Although the glove's made out of latex and orthopedic foams, which are really bouncy and a recoil material, if I push really hard, I can't feel my knuckles at all. My knuckles rest right here, okay? Bringing it up to the camera, right here, my knuckles rest. That's a solid 2 to 3 inches of padding in between the target and in between my knuckles, right? When I hit something, I still get a decent bounce because of the latex inside the Grant, but there are other gloves out there that are made of pure foam that are still defensive. The other reason why they're called defensive gloves is because they open really well to parry shots, and they're huge. Look how big it is next to my head, okay? Compared to, say, the puncher, which is flat, and it's rounded too. Things bounce off a little bit easier when it's rounded, okay? So it's gonna bounce, come right back, somewhat like a puncher in that way. But my knuckles are fine, my wrist is fine, and at the end of the day, everything will be really good in these, and it's also gonna protect me more than it will my partner, okay? So that's the thing about these gloves. is that you see a lot of power punchers and defensive guys use it. But let's use a better example, I suppose you can call it that. We'll use the Ringside IMF Tech Foam. IMF stands for Injected Molded Foam, okay? Look how big the layer is. My knuckles rest here inside this thing again, and there's another 2 or 3 inches. It's big, it's rounded towards the top, and it's very hard and stiff padding. It's very stiff padding, not dense per se, but it's stiff. It takes a while to break the stuff down, okay? But the only thing about this glove is that sometimes I don't get the biggest impact off it because it's made out of the foam, unlike the Grant, which does have latex in it. But this is gonna protect my head big time because of how big it is. It's rounded off so I can parry shots a little bit easier, and it opens up very wide like a defensive style glove would most of the time. So really with defensive glove, you're just talking about actual more padding towards the top of the hand, separating your knuckles away from someone. It's defensive because of how big it is. The rounder the top is, the more defense you have for your head. Now, talking about hybrids, we'll talk about a big culprit for hybrid is the Everlast Power Lock, which I talked about Deontay Wilder using the MX glove earlier. But he uses Power Lock now because he broke his hand using the puncher's glove because he thought, I'm a puncher, I do big punches. That's not what it's for. He got the Power Lock because it's a mix between a defensive style and a pillow style glove. There's a lot of space between my knuckles and the target like a defensive glove. It's big like a defensive glove. It's also opening wide like a defensive glove. But it has that multi-layered foam to where it cradles my knuckles, and it still takes a little bit off sometimes, okay? But when we talk about this glove, Deontay Wilder uses it because he says, my hand's gonna be good in this glove. I can hit as hard as I want, not worry about it. I don't feel anything going through my hands when I use these gloves, and that's exactly why people use Power Locks, okay? Power Locks are one of the most dynamic hybrids on the market because you can hit really, really hard with these, like a defensive and pillow glove, and not feel any repercussion for it. And they're huge, so you can parry shots and catch shots a lot. Now, another glove from a company that's extremely famous, which is a puncher slash pillow glove, is Adidas. Adidas makes really cool gloves called their Hybrid 300, actually, which is funny, a Hybrid 300. This is a hybrid glove. It has multi-layered sandwich foam. There's not a whole lot of space, it's flat, and with that sandwich foam, because it's recoiled, it's folded so much, when you punch it, expands right back open. When you hit, it bounces right back. And there's not a whole lot of space. The padding's softer, like a pillow though, so it's good on my sparring partners, it's good on my hand, my knuckles are gonna be supported. But one thing for sure is that I can get a lot of punches off and feel like I'm making solid contact with these gloves. I get good recoil, so Hybrid 300s by Adidas are very good for people that want that puncher's feel without any hand injuries. Probably one of the best examples of a hybrid as well is something that I think has all three tied into one. Rival does a phenomenal job with having gloves that are soft, like this RS11V sparring glove. The padding is incredibly soft, like a pillow. It goes down to the sub layer underneath where you hit, it recoils off, and it's not latex, it's just a stiffer foam. And on top of it, it's huge and wide and rounded with a bunch of space between my knuckles and the target, like say a defensive glove would be. So this is a perfect glove for sparring, especially if you want all three of the above. And of course, it does cost a little bit extra for the gold painting, but still, that's besides the point. But at the end of the day, each and every company makes something different as far as a hybrid goes. And you gotta look around and shop around and see which one. But to put it in a broad spectrum and to end the video, I'll leave it here. The 4 types of gloves, once again, puncher's gloves, not meant for big blowout punchers that want to get you down in one shot. It's more or less for people that throw multiple volumes of punches. It's a flatter surface and you will need to wrap your hands a little bit more if you have brittle knuckles. The other style of glove, pillows, are incredibly good for training, especially because it does take some power off of your gloves, because it's like you're literally taping a pillow to someone's fist and punching somebody, which doesn't do a whole lot of impact. So that's a big drawback if you need that big impact, but you can hit as hard as you want really without damaging your knuckles. Then there's defensive gloves, which have a thick rounded layer of padding that is going to keep your knuckles away, protecting them, but also giving you that big impact feel because you can hit as hard as you want because there's so much space in between. And they're normally a bigger and bulkier glove. And then there's hybrids, which will mix any of the three together. You know, my favorite hybrid I'd have to say is probably a puncher and pillow style glove. Another puncher pillow style glove real fast is the Sabah Super Soft, kind of like the Adidas Hybrid 300. Really soft padding that recoils really fast, but it has that like winning style protective feel where I don't feel my knuckles like penetrating or anything. So that's your hybrids. That's your punchers and your pillow gloves and also your defensive gloves. And hopefully that will help you decide which type of puncher you are as well. So folks, I hope this video helped you. If you have any questions or comments, comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you have any suggestions, please let me know that too. I always welcome suggestions to the channel. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode.